Okay, hi everyone. My name is Maya Sinad. I am the founder and creator of She Talks Movement, which is a community of women that is dedicated to really helping women of color heal, elevate their lives through discussion and workshops and just different initiatives that we have. So we have yoga, free yoga every month, virtual dance classes, and then we're also introducing paint and sip. So our biggest thing is allowing women the opportunity to express themselves in their own way and just through different mediums. So that's just a little bit about me. So we are joined today with Chantel and Amber. Thank you guys for being here today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Okay, so our first panelist is Amber Jones. She's a graduate of Columbus University. She's an entrepreneur, thought leader, influencer, and investor. And she's the founder and creator of PopKulture Lifestyle. So welcome, Amber.
Hello.
Can you tell us briefly what PopKulture Lifestyle is?
Okay, well, basically, it was something that started off as a cosmetic line where I was, I want to say around November or October of last year, I started selling lashes and lip gloss. So the thought behind it was just, me being an entrepreneur. I was still in school in my last semester in school, and I'm just like trying to think of ways where I can flip my refund check. So I'm like, okay, what if I put my money and invest it into this? It'll bring me a return. So my whole thing with that was just, I was considering myself some type of beauty influencer because people will always compliment me on my eyebrows and stuff. They look a mess now. But I was like, and I spent a lot of money on lashes. So I'm like, how can I, invest in something that can, I can get a profit from. So that's how I just came up with the idea of selling cosmetics. And PopKulture is my line name. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. So yeah, PopKulture is my line name. And I was just like, well, maybe if I take my line name and put into, my business, there's some type of connection or tie-in with it. But one of my main goals behind it is to influence women with full-time jobs, whether you're a teacher, doctor, lawyer, whatever the case may be. I feel like everyone has a little bit of entrepreneur in them. And, takes timing and a lot of thought and ideas to bring that out. So that's what my brand is about, people just venturing into their entrepreneurial lifestyle aside from their full-time career.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love how the twist you said kind of, being a part of the sorority and making that kind of part of the name. I love that. That was catchy. I love it. Okay, so our next panelist is Chantel. She's a 24-year-old graduate preparing for law school for fall 2024.
Right.
Yeah. When she's not working on her application materials, she loves to read, spend time outdoors, and browse the aisles of the thrift store. So, hi, Chantel.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we're going to go ahead and get started in today's conversation. So if you guys don't know, we are talking about sex, pleasure, and intimacy. So the focus of today's conversation is to really allow women the opportunity, especially women of color, to talk more openly and honestly about sex, about pleasure, and intimacy. And also engaging in a conversation at any and every stage that you're in, whether you are actively engaged in sex or not, whether you're celibate or you're a virgin. So it is super important that we do talk about it and we allow ourselves to freely talk about it with no stigmas, no judgment attached. So that will be what we're talking about today. So to start off with, Chantel, how do you define intimacy and pleasure in your own words?
I would define intimacy, and I'm still working on learning the definition of how it fits in my life, but any type of closeness to another person, and that, it's dependent on the other person in the relationship, but the basis of it is just closeness.
Okay.
What about you, Anne?
I just think it's the feeling of feeding like your inner desires, whether it's something good or bad. It's just like a feeling of just being complete. Like if there's something, that you're trying to feel. So.
Okay. So thoughts on sex, intimacy, and pleasure. So we can kind of start off with sex, right? So what is everyone's thoughts on sex in terms of, yeah, there's these blanketed terms and definitions of sex, but as Black women, how has that term, I guess, come about in your life in some way?
I feel like, well, sex, for one, is normal. We're humans. Like, I feel like God put us here to reproduce, and so that's the whole purpose of sex. Now, my standpoint on sex does kind of fall behind and this is kind of getting ahead of the question a little bit, but it is rooted in some sort of religion, which is Christianity. I do feel like, God intended for us to wait until marriage, but he do know that we're not perfect and that we're going to slip up, and we're going to experience those things outside of marriage. But yeah, I got some more to say, but I ain't gonna say it right now because it's probably going into another question. But just overall, I just think sex is sex. Like, it's normal. Like,
Chantel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would agree the fact that it is normal, and I do think it's something that should be talked about more. Not necessarily like you have to give specific details of, the things that you do, like that's between you and whoever you're behind closed doors with, but it should be something that should be talked about more. And so that, maybe it'll let people know that the things they're experiencing is also happening to someone else.
Yeah, I agree 110%. Ladies, anyone who's on the call, feel free to drop in the chat and engage with us because we do want to talk to you and have discussion. So feel free to drop in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat while they're talking. So let us know your thoughts on sex, intimacy, and pleasure. Again, this is a judgment-free zone. So Amber, you talked about sex being rooted in your ideas and your ideals about it in Christianity. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Like how,
okay,
values and your beliefs.
okay. Well, for one, right now I am currently practicing celibacy because of some recent things that have happened with me, and I just kind of got like, I was getting too involved. Like, I feel like at some point, people can let sex be like a slave over them, and I just kind of had a little experience with that. But I don't know. I just feel like I said, I'm a Christian. I do believe that my body is, God's temple. So with that being said, me personally, I just want to represent Christ in every way that I can. Now, I still got the same thoughts. Ain't nothing necessarily changed. It's just my mindset. Like, I still, have the desire to have sex. I haven't really necessarily been in a situation where I've been tempted yet. Yeah. So, but yeah, with that being said, like, that's just my overall thought on it. Now that a lot of things have changed for me. So, yeah.
Chantel, has any, your thoughts been rooted in any sort of belief or religion?
Well, I am a Christian and was raised in the church. So for a while it was, it was always like a thing that I'd heard over and over. But I wouldn't say that was necessarily like what I was taught, like don't have sex before marriage. So then it was kind of up to me as I like got older to, come up with my own, well, not my own, but, whether I was choosing to adhere to, the Christian standard of wait till marriage or, so it's definitely something that's been like factored into the way that
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I'm Christian too, and I decided that I'm gonna wait till marriage. So I also was like, okay, like I've been in those situations. I've been tempted. I've been like the near experience, and then I was like, ooh, nope, he didn't tell me.
I don't know how you do it. You're strong.
Yeah, like I've been tempted one too many times. And I really have just been like, you know what? Like, I understand that there's this bigger thing, bigger than me. And I've talked to other women that have, are on their celibacy journey, and they've said the same thing. It became, like you said, Amber, like a slave.
Right.
to sex, and that should not be the case. You know, we should be able to enjoy. I am all for, you know, if you are engaging in stuff, you know, in sex, that it's consensual, it's something that you love, but it's not something that binds you and holds you tight, and it's like you're a prisoner to it. So I definitely believe that Christianity is a huge part of my journey, and it seems like a lot of, you know, your journey as well. So
No,
you want to add anything to that? No, I'm totally for it.
oh no, I was just saying the celibacy thing is just something I kind of started about 2 or 3 months ago. So I'm still fresh.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little more. So as if someone is wanting to go on this celibacy journey, what are your, I guess, best advice? You know, because it's still new, it's still fresh. So what is your best advice on this?
I don't know. I just feel like, to me, it's hard to kind of not put a religion behind it. So, because I feel like, you know, we're like, you know, here physically, but I feel like when it comes to sex, some things operate on another level in like a spiritual realm to me. So with that being said, sometimes you don't really understand a situation on the physical level, but you can get a deeper understanding into it on that next level of thinking, which is the spiritual realm, which, you know, the Bible talks about. So with me, I feel like, you know, not just Christianity, but just being away. I ain't gonna lie, being here in Houston, because I'm in Houston now. I was in Georgia, you know, about a month or 2 ago. But being in Houston, it kind of like makes it easier for me, because so far I haven't really had time to like go out or like to run into anybody, or I don't really know any people here. So with me, I think my way of dealing with the situation is God had to separate me, you know, because he knows this is something that I'm being serious about. But also I'm getting, you know, new opportunities as far as career opportunities and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just feel like there's definitely a blessing in it. But my advice would be is to, you know, just find different things, you know, outside of sex. Find different ways that you can get to know a person, or that you can, like, you know, be intimate with someone. Like, you can be intimate without using your body, like, you know, your mind. All of that plays a part of intimacy and pleasure. So that would just be my little advice. Like I said, I ain't perfect. I still have those thoughts and stuff there. And you never know how strong you are until you're put in that situation. So, I mean, I'm going to speak positive. Have a little boo. And who knows how that's going to go. Like, I'm going to just, you know, I'm going to hold on to my profession.
Yeah, you have to, you know, and like you said, you kind of, that journey was rooted in, like you were saying, like spirituality part of it. It was like, okay, that is more important.
Right.
OT says this transparency is appreciated. Thank you. Said, growing up, sex was a taboo. My parents never talked about it. They just said, don't do it. So I was, which isn't a good thing. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So can we talk about, like, why is it sex is so taboo when it's explicitly stated in the Bible that sex is a beautiful thing, that it's something God wants us to enjoy, but in the households and even in society through the different sex education, our failed sex education, we just don't talk about it, or it's stigmatized, or especially when women of color engage in sex, all the stereotypes that are out there. So what are your thoughts on sex being a taboo?
I think that the stigma around it plays a big role into why it's such a taboo topic. Like, no one wants to talk about it, because especially as women and women of color, because if you do talk about it in a positive way and it's something that you enjoy and you talk about those experiences, then, you know, there are negative connotations that come with that. And then if you choose not to engage in sex and so you don't talk about it, then, you know, people have opinions on that. So then that turns into just everyone not talking about it out of fear of the response from other people.
Right. When it should be definitely talked about. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you believe that it should, because, you know, we definitely said we're three of us are Christian, do you believe it should be stated or talked about, I'm going to give different opinions, talked about in the stance of Christianity and religion, right? How God wants us to, you know, have sex, enjoy sex, or in the sense of in the pleasure of it?
I think both.
Okay.
Both, because going back to what I said earlier, like, I mean, it's sex is just beyond physical. It's also like a mental thing too. Like everything just kind of like ties into each other. So yeah, I definitely do think it should be discussed on both Christianity level and a social standpoint as well.
And I think it depends on who you're talking to about it. Like me personally, I have friends who are very religious and are abstaining from sex for religious reasons. So the conversations we have about it are very different from my friends who are enjoying all that it has to offer. And, you know, they like to share details. And the conversations we have are very different, but they're still equally positive conversations about sex.
I like that. I do like that, yeah.
Like I was the same way, you know, with my homegirls, because I feel like that's kind of one of the things that bonds females is the fact that we're able to discuss, you know, our sex life and things such as that. So, you know, there's some good parts about it. Like it's not, you know, it's not necessarily all the way bad. It's just the fact that when you're considering religion and everything else that plays into it, then that's when you kind of have to like use, you know, a certain thought process and just kind of keep a balance, because like I said, we are not perfect and, you know, we're gonna slip up. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts then on new age sex and pleasure?
Okay, so are you referring to like LGBT and polyamorous relationships and stuff?
So I'm referring to all of that.
To each his own. Like I feel like whatever you do, hey, that's your business. Like I'm not judging. I have a gay best friend, and you know, me and him, we're able to bond. And even though I don't necessarily agree with what he's doing, you know, like I don't rub that, I don't throw that in his face. I don't, you know, like we just, I mean, we're friends more than anything. So I don't care about your personal sex life, you know, because I myself have, you know, people say like girls are like, every girl gets a little bi-curious or whatever. So I personally had a stage like that in high school, which I'm very transparent about. I don't care about talking about it because yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I said, it's normal. Like everybody or almost everyone goes through that stage to as far as, you know, just wanting to tap into a certain level of intimacy or sex experience. So, or just even being curious about it, just knowing about it. Like I feel like everybody has those thoughts, those random thoughts on certain stuff. So,
Amber, I'm actually glad that you like brought up that point of people being curious and stuff, because I feel like that's also something that's like ignored, or people will think that sexuality is a black and white thing. Like, you know, like it's either this or that. And like, when really it's one big gray area and, you know, like, and different people dabble into different things. And I think it's great to see people be more willing to explore, you know, maybe it's something that's been a thought for them for a while, and then they're willing to explore it safely. Obviously, you know, you always want to be safe in what you do, but even being willing to do that, I'm glad to see that's being talked about more and more widely accepted.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that there's been so many conversations that I've had with people, specifically men, that are just very curious even about my sensuality. Yes, I'm a virgin, but I've engaged in other acts.
Oh, okay.
We're getting serious.
Okay.
And I'm very open about my sexuality. I think that to me, intimacy and pleasure is like key. It's important. It's very important, especially self-pleasure. I think a lot of times like people forget to talk about that. And it's just, I've always been a curious child. So I grown up, either I'll ask a question to an adult or I'll Google it or find it out somewhere or I'll start talking to people. I've just always been that curious person. So when it came to sex, yes, I understood from a biblical standpoint, no, don't engage in that. But I definitely would say, like, I've been in other areas. I've done other things.
Right. What's your zodiac sign? I'm sorry if you
No,
don't mind me asking.
a Capricorn.
Oh,
I love this. Capricorns are amazing.
I thought that's why I asked. I know cancers are like really deep into sexual activity and just little things like that. So
yeah, so I just think it's important that, you know, we have these conversations. We're not afraid to talk about it, even like the new age sex, the intimacy, the pleasure. And again, when it comes to women of color, there's so much stigma. So when I would talk about it with, you know, my Black male friends, it would be like question mark, and I'm like, and all these other things. If I say one thing, all these other negative things will come along with it, and I'm like, no. Like,
so are you to like double standards as far as, you know, females being secluded to the scenario where we have to just talk to, it's like whatever for us to talk to like more than one person at a time, and then how dudes are able to do it, and you know, are you referring to that, like double standards when it comes to that?
yes, and then there's also double standards when it comes to men engaging in certain sexual acts
Oh,
that women cannot engage in.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it is. I've had those double standards when it's like the men can just, you know, talk to multiple women, and then if I talk to, it's like, what are you doing? Like, nope.
Yep. Because I don't care, and I honestly feel like the game has changed though. There was a point where like men were kind of, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't do this as a woman, you shouldn't. But child, this is a new era, this is a new age. The game totally changed, and I don't know. I like it, honestly. I enjoy it.
I agree.
Or, you know, power, and we have more just thoughts and ideas of our own and how we should be as women, not someone else, not a man telling us, oh, what's, you know, right or what's wrong. So
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think having more of those conversations, that's why I'm free to talk to my male friends about it. In the beginning, it was like something like, okay, like, Maya, what are you talking about? Like, this is, and then now they're just, it's not expected, but when those conversations happen, it's so much lighter, and it comes from a place of like, oh, okay, I want to understand more. Why do you engage in this? Why don't you engage in this? And they'll talk, and I love how, because I open a line of communication, it's not the surface level talk of sex. It's the pleasure. Are you being pleased in that situation? And I love that. And I think, again, like you were saying, now, you know, more than ever, we are having those more intimate conversations with, whether it's our girlfriends or our male friends or both. So I absolutely think that's amazing. Alexis said, Lori Harvey had everyone talking about it. Yeah. Yes.
and then, you know, while
yeah,
another, you know, that's got people like, oh, females shouldn't be talking about this, but when you come to think about it, I was just like doing my own research on it. Like, this been around for years. Like, I saw where one of the slaves, I can't remember what country or like the origin or whatever behind it, but I can't remember her name. I saw a picture of it on Twitter where she was in like that same pose where Nicki Minaj was like, did y'all see that? Mm-hmm. And they were basically saying like, you know, this is nothing new. Like, what, you know, wow, that's nothing new. Like, this is something that's been going on. Like, the lady butt was so big that they put her, you know, on Front Street, and people, you know, paid money to like see her. This was back in like the 1800s. So this stuff has been around. It's nothing new.
Yeah. And it's, and if you notice, the policing was with both men and women. Like, women were like, well, you shouldn't do this and you should cover up. But then it was also the policing by the men. But I always say, when women kind of police each other, it's inherently because of what the male-dominated white patriarchal society has taught us about sex and about our intimacy.
Or those are things that the women who are like shaming the ones who are very, you know, outspoken about it, those are things that they've chosen to suppress within themselves. And so to see another woman doing it, they're like, well, this is wrong, because if it were right, I would have been out here the same way, but they've somewhere along the line, they told themselves that that's not something they can express. So therefore, it's not something that they feel another woman should express. And then that's when they start, shaming these women who are openly expressing their sexuality.
Right.
So it says, many men idolize a certain type of woman, but when a woman they know behaves that way, then there's a problem.
Right.
That's so true. That's like a whole different conversation. I can get into that. That's so true. These double standards that are out there. So what has been your biggest lesson that you learned over the years on your journey? Amber, you talked about celibacy. So just coming from this moment up until this moment.
Oh, child. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell y'all. I was one of those people. I had a whole phase. I ain't gonna lie. I had a whole phase, and it was on bad. And it was like I didn't really know how to deal with it. Like I really didn't know how to deal with it. But for somehow, like I knew it was like normal in a sense, because I'm just like, okay, you've been with this person for this amount of time. Like, how do you know if he's even the one when you haven't really experienced all there is to experience out there? So with that said, I don't know, like I had a point where I was single and I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna do what makes me happy, because ultimately, like, that's the thing behind this. Like we're trying to like feel that desire, whatever we feel, like avoid or whatever the case may be. But I would say my biggest lesson that came from that was it's like, okay, you've had fun, you done played over here, played over there. Now, like, what are you getting out of this? Like, at some point, it's almost like, why are you doing it? Like, are you doing it because of, you just enjoy the feeling of it? Or are you being vulnerable and are you trying to just like feel some type of void or something? Like, I just had to, I had to have like this self-reality check with myself. And the truth of the matter is, when it all boiled down, I was just like, okay, your feelings have gotten involved in some entanglements. And it's time for you to draw back, because it was definitely affecting everything I did. Like, if I'm gonna be completely honest, like, work, school, my friendships, like it was just affecting a lot. It was taking a toll. And I just had to make a decision, like, when are you gonna realize like this? It's not really the pleasure and the intimacy that you're wanting. It's like it's something beyond that. So I don't know, I just had to put a stop to it. It's like you need to take some time out and focus on yourself, and because that's gonna come, that's always gonna be there. Like I said, sex, it was a slave to me. Like it was definitely over me. It was something that was controlling me. So I just had to pull back from it, give myself time to regroup, regather, and just get back into my word. And it's just been good since then. But definitely learned a lot about myself within that journey of me wanting to talk to everybody, or be free. But yeah, man, I enjoy it now. Like I said, I've been going on about 2 or 3 months or so, and it's been good. Like it's been good.
Chantel?
I would say the biggest thing that I learned is, it wasn't until, I don't know, as I like got older, I learned the difference between sex and intimacy. And what it was that I was looking for in these relationships. And then so I I've never like called it a celibacy journey, but I just like took a step back. Like I was like, hold on, let me stop. What I've been doing isn't working for me. I'm not getting the results I want. So let me like reevaluate. And so I realized that the thing that I'm more so looking for is like that closeness with another person, and not just on a physical level. Like, so I haven't really, it's been close to a year. I've been, you know, focused on other things. Obviously, you know, the law school application process is stressful enough, so I don't have time to worry about talking to these random guys. But I've also had time to learn myself and what it is that I'm looking for, and learn that, you know, the issues I had in the past. So like, I've learned that I need to be more firm in setting boundaries and adhering to those, and, you know, demanding because these guys, like, you know, if they want something from you, they're going to be very clear about it. And I need to make it very clear what I want, what I expect, and not change that for another person. Because if this person can't adhere to the boundaries I set, then you got to go. Like, that's all there is to it. So I've just learned the things, you know, to change what I was doing in order to eventually get the results I'm looking for, which is a like long-term stable relationship, and not just, you know, someone to entertain for the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think that came with age, Chantel, or was that like?
Yeah, I would say so. And just, you know, after like repeated experiences, I mean, I have a lot of respect for you, and like, you know, saying you had your hoe phase, and I love my friends who had theirs, who were in the middle of theirs. I love it. I celebrate it. But like, I didn't have what it takes to like have one. So there weren't too many experiences I had. But, you know, after the third, fourth one, you kind of realize like, hey, this isn't giving me what I'm looking for. There's still an emptiness, and I need to figure out how I'm going to get what I want.
Right. Okay.
Wow. That's deep. So you guys talk about like that feeling, right? Like the feeling that you might not have been getting. So if I were to ask you today, do you know what that feeling is? Because you guys are on that spirituality, Christian, like you're in the Bible, right? You're in your word, you're figuring yourself out, you know. Do you believe you know what that feeling is?
Yeah, I would say honestly, I do now, versus, you know, when I was in high school having sex, I was just doing it just to do it. You know, I wasn't really getting anything out of it. And I feel like, you know, I'm pretty sure there's some science behind that, whereas most women don't fully experience an orgasm until they're 23, 24 or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, there's definitely yeah, I definitely am aware now of that feeling, and yeah.
That's good.
For me, I wouldn't say it's just like one specific feeling as much as it is like an experience. Like, I guess I would say what I want now is like a relationship, like something serious. And, you know, I understand the next man I meet may not be the man I marry, but I'm not going to hop into bed with this man the moment I meet him, because, you know, just because someone wants something that's strictly physical. So for me, it's like the experience. I know what I want, the type of relationship I'm working towards.
Yeah. That's good. Alexis?
Were you going to say something?
I thought I heard somebody else coming. Okay. This was muffled, so I was like, wait, what? Okay, so we had a couple questions. OT said this, and was pointing up. Understand that?
Oh, she was referring to Daisha's comment when she said she was talking about men idolizing wanting a certain type of woman, but when a woman, you know, behaves that way, then there's a problem. So she was just agreeing with what Daisha was saying.
Oh, okay. I was like confused. Okay, yeah. So as you guys been on your journey, what has been your thoughts on self-pleasure? Have you engaged with it? Just because you were saying you want that experience, you kind of know what the feeling is, but do you feel like you're able to kind of give it to yourself or not?
Mine now come from exercise, and then, you know, a little something every now and then, but mostly it's exercise because I feel like I don't really know like the exact science behind, you know, just that feeling of being horny or whatever it is, but I do know that one of the ways to relieve it is through of course intimacy, sex, and all of that, but exercise. So that's just my little thing of how I deal with it.
I definitely commend you on that. And, you know, maybe I should try exercising a little more.
Girl.
But
They have these things where, okay, so they have this thing, it's called a orgasm. And a orgasm is pretty much like an orgasm, but you're exercising. It's like you're using your core and your pelvis to engage in, you know, just physical activity. And it's a feeling.
Okay.
I'll definitely have to look into that. But
I've actually learned how to do that. And, yeah.
Wow.
It's been working now. That's why I said you don't really know how strong you is until you actually get into a situation.
Yeah.
So right now, that's what's been working for me personally.
Good.
But that's, you know, that's still like a good outlet, because at the end of the day, like, sexual energy is energy. That's all it is. And so you can, you know, redirect it into something else. For me, I've chosen to, you know, whereas before I'd be up in the middle of the night hanging out with someone. Now I'm up in the middle of the night studying for the LSAT. So it's not fun, but, you know, it's still redirecting that energy. And then in terms of like self-pleasure, you know, the same way I buy myself something nice if I want it, or, you know, I'll take myself out for a nice meal. If I, you know, need to pleasure myself, then it's all, you know, it's all in the same category.
I completely agree. I'm 110% for self. If you guys follow me on my personal page, you'll know, like, I think it's absolutely important. And I think, honestly, a man gonna have to step up his game when it comes to
right.
I enjoy it a lot.
Like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, do you have like some type of vibrator?
Yeah.
Like a vibrator, like, because you said that was a bold statement that you made, you know, for you to not be.
No, yeah, I different vibrators, you know, your clitoris. These are really good. But yeah, I think that everyone, if you're comfortable, that's what I definitely say. I definitely say if you're comfortable. And in the beginning, when I started doing it, I was like, ooh, like, is this okay? Like, is this natural? And then I just realized, I was like, honestly, I felt first, if I could please myself first, and I know how I like to be pleased, then I'm a better communicator to the person that, you know, whether it's my partner or whoever. And even when I was engaging in other sexual activities, I understood where my climax, when I was going to orgasm, like, I understood, I could communicate it very effectively, and I felt so much more empowered when I could do that, versus just being like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to take it, or I'm just going to do what. Like, I know what I want. So that's just my little tidbit. But OT said, do you all feel like celibacy and abstinence equal more self-pleasure? What are y'all's thoughts?
For me, I wouldn't say it's more. It's because I do choose, you know, I try to find other ways to like redirect the energy I feel. So it's not necessarily more, but I do appreciate it more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Amber, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree. I don't feel like, you know, it's we're not gaining. Well, I'm more, for me, it's like, you know, just getting in tune with my spirituality. But I mean, that's pleasurable for me now. But as far,
yeah, completely agree. So, do you guys have any deal breakers when it comes to sex?
Yeah. With me, well, when I get to that point again, which I don't know when that'll be, but I'm sorry, but, well, for one, you have to be able to, I have to connect with you before I can connect with you on a physical level. Chantel, I think you were saying this earlier. It is all about experience for me now. Like, I need to be able to, you know, connect with you, just personally, like before we get to that point, like, you know, open up my mind, you know, let me know, you know, some things about you, like, you know, what are some viewpoints that you stand on when it comes to, you know, just different topics in life. Like, I actually, you know, would like to take the time out to get to know you on this level before I get to know you on that level. So, yes, Kayla, I agree. Yes, it's about that connection. Like, you want to have like that connection and like that chemistry with the person before you just go and lay down with them. But I don't know. I just feel like my deal breaker is outside of that would be if he got a small dick. I'm sorry, like I'm not about to entertain that. Like, not a small dick, but you need to know how to like turn me on, like, you know. But of course, this will be something like that we talk about. So when it comes to kissing, like, you know, figure out my spot.
Yeah.
But small penis, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I've experienced that before, and it sucks because it's just like, you know. But that was when I was in my whole phase. So I can't deal with small, like, size matters to me, and I hate that I'm like that. But who knows, you know, I may say that, and, you know, maybe I'll get to know somebody and like them on a certain level, and then it probably, it won't be a deal breaker then, because, you know, I care more about you than I do what's in your pants. But as right now, I can't.
Honesty.
I would say, I agree with Amber. Like, connection definitely has to be there. I don't care how cute you are. If you can't hold a conversation,
Right.
I don't want it. Like, you know, that's the end of it. And then in terms of like, I mean, personal hygiene really matters. I can't be with someone that has like dirty fingernails. Like, I'm big on like fingernails. If they're like dirty and like I don't even get me started. But that, and then like, you know, your teeth have to look clean and you gotta smell nice.
Yeah, that too.
Because if you don't take care of yourself, then you don't care about me. So.
Right.
I completely agree. So Mia said, my deal breaker is you have to go down there. Yes, hunty.
That too. Oh, that too, definitely.
Nasty, and I can't date someone like that. 110% with you. Kayla said, weak as fuck. Definitely size has to be reasonable. Mm-hmm. So what is a reasonable size? What is reasonable?
You asking us or?
Yeah, I'm asking you guys. You guys can put it in the chat. Let me know what's reasonable.
Reasonable to me, maybe a little bit bigger than this. Not necessarily. I look for I ain't gonna lie, I look for circumference too. Yeah. Like, you need to be like, you know, a little on the thicker side. Because if you can just, you know, feel like, then maybe length wouldn't be as much as in, you know, impact. Because I don't want, you know, just like no skinny, long, whatever either. Like, you,
yeah,
7 inches of corn dog.
Yeah.
Corn
dog thick.
Oh God.
That is corn dog thick.
Not too skinny, not too short. Yeah, that's true.
Agreed. OT said, refusing to wear a condom with new partners, too much is being spread without the knowledge. Yeah. No shrimpy.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm cracking up.
Love it. No, I mean, I feel like that's good, right? Like, I think a lot of people say, oh, like, you shouldn't measure a man by his penis, or maybe like, but this is my point. I believe, yes, you know, some women are like, okay, I can't have, you know, like this small, or it has to be this big, or whatever. And my biggest thing is, I need to know how you gonna work it. That's what I need to know. If you know how to work it, then we can talk. But if you don't, then we can't talk.
That's true, because you do got some, you know, some people that got it, but they don't have it.
So just know how to work it. So it makes me upset when you have a big thing and don't know what's. Yes, exactly. Because you can have a big one and still not know how to work it, and somebody smaller is amazing. I believe it's based on how you work with it. But So just before we kind of wrap up, because I want to make respect y'all's time, what is your advice that you would give your younger self or young women exploring sex for the first time?
The one thing I would say is to realize that it's more than just a physical thing, and there are feelings that come along with it. Not necessarily like you're going to fall in love with everyone that you sleep with, but there's definitely an emotional aspect, and be aware of that. And also it's okay to like enjoy pleasure and to seek it and to expect it. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
I like
I would say, just protect yourself, because as OT, or I think it was Mia that said, it's all types of stuff out there, and you don't want any of that attaching to you. So, birth control, condoms, just keep yourself protected, and then also know what you're getting yourself into. Because I feel like with younger girls, I don't know, it's just so hard. Everything is just like, sometimes it's hard to get to them. So you just gotta, give them the most practical advice that and let them take it from there. Sometimes, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I was younger, like I really wasn't trying to hear all that. I mean, yeah, give me, okay, I'm it's like I hear you, but either way, I'm still gonna go out and experience it, because sometimes it's a difference between experiencing and like actually having sex than just having people, sit to you and talk about it. It's just like you learn from your experience. So
yeah, I agree. A couple of comments. Mia said, just because everyone is supposedly doing it, it doesn't mean you have to. You have plenty of time. Don't rush. Love it. Kayla said, yourself. You don't have to force yourself to have sex to please the guy and make him feel better. Always use protection. Yeah. OT says, protect yourself every time. Trust the Lord. Love these people. Amen. Or trust yourself and your family. I agree. I think everything that all of you said is very spot on. For anyone that's listening, for anyone that has the replay and, listening up until this point, I think my biggest advice to any young woman would be, don't be afraid to ask questions and understand. Right. Yeah, like going back to what, OT said, trust yourself and your family. And not being afraid to, communicate that. I think it's okay, right? If you do engage in it. Yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I definitely believe, I'm going to lead marriage, right? That is that I'm standing firm and hard on. But I've engaged in other sexual acts. I've engaged in other things. But I trusted myself in those moments, in those experiences. And I was more empowered, doing it. Obviously understanding, like, I had to go back, God, and be like, oh, dang, I'm so sorry I did that. I shouldn't have done that. But I felt, I was good because I trusted myself to make that decision. And I also trusted myself to know the consequences of the decision I made.
Right.
When you're not using protection, what are the consequences? Are you willing? Are you ready? At whatever age you are, whether you're 16, 14, or 25 and 30, are you ready? Do you trust yourself enough to, really take care of your body, after you engage in that? Are you aware? Do you have that education and knowledge about it? And I think, again, another point is, for any woman, especially women of color, it's about educating yourself on sex and your body. There's not enough being talked about, especially Black women and women of color's bodies. Our bodies are different. We're genetically made differently. And so a lot of things that go on, it's just different for us. So just educating yourself, whether you're younger or older, it doesn't matter. So thank you, Amber and Chantel. for this conversation. It was absolutely amazing. I appreciated the transparency and honesty today. And for everyone that joined in today, thank you so much. So I'm going to open up the floor for any conversation, any questions that you may have for Amber or Chantel, or any comments. So you guys can feel free to turn on your cameras or just unmute yourself.
Right. I want to know, like, has anyone had any bad experiences lately? Experiences lately, like bad as in like, have y'all like just kind of some of the things that we've talked about? Has anyone like experienced it recently or in the past or no?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Kayla?
I think, is my background loud?
You're good.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to address like, no, Amber, I haven't had any terrible experiences lately, but bad, yeah. But I wanted to address. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting some food. But I just wanted to address, like, y'all know how, like, a lot of these HBCU scandals, I'm not sure, what's really been going on, but, like, a lot of women has been saying that they've been raped and they was forced to have sex. And, I feel like as a female, you kind of do get caught up in feeling like, I don't know, not that you have to have sex with people, but just to make them feel, comfortable or like you or something. I feel like girls have the impression that it's like, oh, well, I have to have sex with him because he's this person, or it'll make him feel better about himself, or just something like that. Like, I don't know why we have a soft spot for guys, like, when it comes to that. And I just wanted to, like, I just want girls to feel more comfortable with this. Like, if you go over there and that's not your intention to do that, and you just want to get to know him, then do that. I mean, you don't have to feel like, oh, dang, I guess we're gonna have sex. I really don't want to, but we might end up doing it. It's okay to tell him no. Like, and if anything that he forces you to do after that, he's gonna have to face some tough consequences. But at least in your heart that you told him no, that you told him that that's not what you're ready to do as of now, and it makes you uncomfortable.
That's actually one of the last experiences I had with sex, and that's kind of like what led me to this little celibacy thing, because me and this guy, we hooked up or whatever, and even though I did put myself in a situation, my intentions were not to have sex with him, but the fact that, like, I was really willing to sacrifice whatever, like, my whatever the case may have been, just to make him feel, some type of way, like he, won something. Like, it was just so, like, when I was so mad at myself, because when I tell you, like, I really didn't want to do it. And the fact that I was just like, oh, okay, whatever, like, come on, it was just like, girl, why did you do that? Like, no, like, stick to what you said. Like, if you don't want to do it, like, why did you do it? And afterwards, I just felt so, when I tell you, I felt so disgusted with myself. Like, that's when I had to do that reality check and be like, okay, like, what is it? What is it? Because it's time for you to wake up and you need a reality check, because you clearly told yourself that those were not your intentions. You didn't want to have sex. And, like, I really meant that. And for me to still go and, like, let him, I wouldn't even say let him trick me, because I was, full aware. Like, it was no type of abusive situation or nothing like that. But just to kind of, like, just wordplay and stuff, and just like how he was able to, like, kind of like knock that barrier down that I was trying to put up, that I'm talking about, I was so mad, y'all. Like, I was just like, oh, hell no. Like, I ain't gonna let another nigga, excuse my language, but that's just how I was. I was like, I'm tired of these niggas trying to, like, no, like, you need to do a reality check and see, like, where are you going wrong at. So that's one of the things, like you said, Kayla, just be, confident and stand on your word, and don't feel no type of way, just because, he may, oh, she lame, or she whatever, or she didn't try to give me nothing. Like, okay, fine, what to hell with it, like whatever. But so that's something, Caleb, that you said. I wish I would have known then what you're saying now, because yeah, I don't think it would have happened like that. So, but
I agree. I can relate to that.
Yeah, you live in
I'm glad you brought that up, especially the part of like, afterwards, and like, when you think to yourself and you're like, why did I let myself do that? Like when it gets to a point where you can't look yourself in the mirror because of decisions you've made, like that's when you're like, no, this has to end, because like I can't do this again. And I've been in situations and then reflected, and I'm like, I didn't even want to. Like, why did I? I understand, like, sure, I don't care that I was there for 2 hours and we were laying in bed watching TV, but like I didn't want to, like, and I should have said no. And that's something I should have told my younger self. And that, that's why I said, enforcing boundaries and standing firm on them, because the feeling that comes from that, I don't want to experience that again. I don't wish anyone to experience that. Like it's terrible. It takes a lot to recover from that and to build yourself back up from something like that.
Does, because as women, we're just automatically hard on ourselves, and oh God, it's horrible.
Yeah, thank you guys for being transparent about that.
Right.
Sometimes men will manipulate your mind in any way possible they can. Kayla said, yes, me too. I think just to kind of briefly speak on that, one of the questions I would always ask my male friends, because I've always had this conversation with my female friends, is how many of your female friends have been sexually assaulted or raped? And when I would ask them that question, they would like sit there and think about it. And they said all of them.
What? Oh.
And talking to even female friends, or just female friends in general, most of them have been sexually assaulted and or raped. And it's scary to think that something that is supposed to be pleasurable, enjoyable, right? Something that we're supposed to have like this, deep yearning for and desire in a healthy manner, was turned into something just so degrading to females. And even, to speak on the HBCU part, I'm very well aware and familiar of a lot of women who have been raped at HBCUs. And I don't say that as like, oh, okay, it only happens at HBCUs. It happens at PWIs. There's just so much I could say about HBCUs in that sense, because it's scary how many women report it to authorities just at any university and are not being taken seriously. And a lot of times people don't talk about that aftermath. And like you guys said, we are harder on ourselves, right? Understanding when we don't get that justice, we're not being heard, right? It could just be, hey, I'm listening to you. I'm holding space for you after X, Y, and Z happened. I think I'll say very honestly, I was sexually assaulted and I found myself in this hypersexuality after it.
Mm-hmm.
And then not feeling like, okay. I was like, why am I being this way?
Yeah, definitely. That's like with me, like I saw a tweet one time that says dudes need to make it normal to not put their hand on a female waist when they pass them. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I could just post it, because it's like, when is it gonna stop? Like, and it makes me so mad. Like I go off on people, like don't touch me. Like, you do not have to touch me to get by me. Like excuse you, like I'm sorry, I'm just that female. Like, call it ratchet, ghetto, whatever you want to, but you're not about to violate me. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah. And it's important.
To that standpoint, it wasn't always like that. There was a time where I thought it was like, okay, well, he's just trying to get by maybe, but like, no, like as you get older and you learn, like, no, that's intolerable. I'm not about to tolerate that. You don't have to do that. Like, stop. You got to put your foot down.
Because he's not doing that to other men when he walks by them. So there's no reason for him to put his hand on you.
Right. And just the fact that I even ever thought it was okay, like, that says a lot about, what people think is normal when it comes to sex or whatever the case may be. So yeah.
You guys
a learning experience.
yeah, do you guys have anything else that you want to add? Any comments, questions? You can drop them in the chat. You can turn your mic on or your camera.
Right. Nia, OT, I saw you leave. I saw your video.
So if we don't have any other questions or comments, thank you again.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say this was very nice and very informational because, like I said, like a lot of people don't talk about it. They don't feel comfortable talking about it because they feel like ashamed or embarrassed. And I feel like no one should feel that way because so many people are having the same thought process going on through their mind. So it's nice just to like get everything out there, like on the table, and feel comfortable talking about it, especially as Black women as well, because I was scared to have sex because I just didn't want to be a statistic, you know, like single mother on the system, like that type of thing. Like that scared me, like from even doing anything. My mom was just like, don't do that. No, like she got pregnant at 19. Like she was like, no, just don't do it. Don't ask no questions about it. So it's like nice to be able to talk about it openly.
And I agree with just one last thing to add, but you know, that's a good point that you bring up, because I feel like in a lot of Black families, you know, the extent of sex ed is don't have sex, and if you do, don't get pregnant or don't get someone pregnant, and then that's it. And then it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? So then you end up either curious, so you're going to go out and figure things out for yourself, or scared because you don't know anything else about it other than you might or might not get pregnant, and then you choose not to do anything, and then there comes the shame with that. So it definitely needs to be talked about more, like, you know, to younger Black kids as they're growing up, more comprehensive sex education within the household, and, you know, what they're being taught in schools. And then, you know, as we get older, having those conversations with those, you know, closest to us. I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I don't really care. But especially with, like, my friends, I tend to be the one that, like, starts the conversation. Like, I'll bring things up that we, you know, they try to be hush-hush about. And, you know, having those conversations is how we normalize these things.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's super important. But I definitely, you know, think that, you know, each one of you here today just being open, honest, about your experiences. I really do appreciate it because, again, it's not easy talking about it, especially, you know, maybe when you're new to talking, you know, to talking about it, or just even exploring your own sexuality and sensuality, and understanding that I love to say that there should be no guilt and shame around your sexuality and your sensuality. And oftentimes, because of the stereotypes and stigmas and the lack of sex education or awareness around our bodies, there is a lot of guilt and shame when we do engage in acts that is quote unquote not the norm. So if you are listening to this, just there's, you know, if guilt and any sort of shame comes up, it's normal. But understand that you are learning. You're on a journey. Like, it's not going to end. You're going to learn new stuff along the way, and it's nothing to be scared about, and it's something to embrace. And I think it's the most empowering thing that women can do is to talk more openly about their sexuality and sensuality. So again, thank you to everyone who joined in. If you want the replay, you can DM me or DM Amber or Chantel, and we can send it to you via email. So let us know if you want the replay for this, because it's going to be free. So I'm just sending it to you via email and you can check it out. Do you guys have any last minute comments before we end?
No. Thank you for using your platform and, you know, just making it something for everyone to talk about, because as Mia said, like, this is very much needed. So you're doing a good job with the She Talks movement. So shout out to you.
Okay. All right. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.